most every service. How is Health City Cayman Islands going to be different? How are they going to be able to be sustainable and with the high cost of doing business here?
Yeah, Donna, let me just give you one interesting statistic before I answer your question.
Sure.
And in 2010, and this is statistics that came from government. There were, and this shows the state of where we are in Cayman.
Right.
There were about 1,100 cardiac consults. There were about, I think, about 300 air ambulance rotation that were done because of cardiac consults, and there were about 160 procedures practiced or performed.
Right.
That's in 2010, and I'm sure the statistics continue to grow. So it is a challenge in Cayman, and when you look at, there's almost one air ambulance rotation because of cardiac needs per day.
Right.
But back to your question, how will we operate in our environment in a cost-effective manner?
Right.
To say that we're going to operate at the same cost as India, that's not possible.
Right.
We will operate and perform surgeries at about 30 to 40% of the cost in the U.S. And the reason behind that is it's an all-encompassing. It's the efficient design of the hospital, the efficiency in which they operate at, the volume. Volume is a huge thing for them. One of the other big factors that has allowed this to happen is tort reform, and that's a law that government changed to accommodate not only us but medical tourism.
Right.
In the United States, everybody, or doctors or medical facilities in general, are very risk adverse. Okay, so they take a lot of time and energy in mitigating risk because of the litigious nature of healthcare in the U.S. Because of tort reform, those things have been dramatically reduced here, and doctors will be able to practice medicine, not fill out papers.
Okay.
So those things all help with efficiencies, and that was a major milestone in having that law changed. In fact, I can tell you it reduced the insurance burden the proposed insurance burden on the hospital from about $4.5 million a year to about $300,000 a year.
Oh my goodness!
So these are all things that will assist in this reduction in cost. And again, the model that Dr. Shetty has, and again, I'm not a doctor, but the model that he has is an extremely highly efficient, high volume model.
All right, Mr. Thompson, we're going to take a break right now. We're here on Talk with the Nation here on Vibe 98.9. We are taking your calls. That number to call us at is 946-9898. You can send us a message at facebook.com/Talk with the Nation, or even tweet us on Twitter at TWTNKY. We'll be back with Talk with the Nation in just a few minutes.
What's affecting our nation? This is Talk with the Nation, presented by the Premier, the Honorable McKeeva Bush on Vibe FM.
Welcome back to Talk with the Nation here on Vibe 98.9. Our phone lines are open. Please give us a call at 946-9898. We are talking medical tourism here in the Cayman Islands, specifically about the Health City Cayman Islands project, and we have the local partner with us in studio this evening, Mr. Gene Thompson, as well as our Councillor for Tourism, MLA Cline Glidden, and Director of the Department of Tourism, Mr. Shomari Scott. Mr. Glidden, let's talk a little bit about how having Health City Cayman Islands is going to help the Cayman Islands public purse in the long run.
Well, Donna, we're still hoping that we have the Minister of Health who may be able to join us, and he can give us specific numbers as to what healthcare actually cost the country, and how much of that is actually spent on overseas medicals, and depending on what information he actually has on hand, he'll be able to get into some more statistics. But when we look at direct costs that could be reduced because of the needs and services that would be provided here, we know that those would be significant.
Sure.
But when we talk about the possibilities that and the interests that the announcement of the Health City has created, what I can say is the government has in the last month, or since the facility, since the groundbreaking. I mean, we've been talking about it for a while, and I guess people have been making they're putting their plans together and purchasing property. But we have now two relatively significant hotel properties that are in discussions with government, and we have a quite large Gulf and town center facility again in the Eastern District, right? That obviously see this potential, see this nucleus, the creation of the health city at that point, and the business associated with that will now make it attractive to put facilities there. Right. And so when we talk about hotels, obviously we have employment opportunities, training, we have the spend, the direct spend as far as development when that happens. We talk about a Gulf course. Shomari will tell you that when we speak to our U.S. partners, one of the challenges that we do have is that the lack of Gulf facilities in the Cayman Islands is a significant barrier. Right. And so the fact that we now have interest and we could be looking at a brand new 18-hole facility obviously will do a lot to enhance our offerings as a tourist destination. So Donna, I think the potential is enormous. I mean, we're working hard to facilitate and to encourage the hotel brands and the recognized chains to come into to actually put facilities, make the investment. Because obviously, even for those people that aren't in the health services business, we have a lot of our young people that can get into other tourism-related businesses, working in the hotels, getting trained. Right. And so we're excited about those opportunities as well. As well, when we look at the spin-offs of, we have our economy is based on consumption, right? So as we consume more, as we generate more facilities, obviously, the revenue for the country increases as well. So it's important that we are looking at things that will create that diversity and continue to attract new investment, new opportunities to the country. We have a school now in the Eastern District as well. I know you talked about some apartments, but that's what we want. We want our Caymanians to be able to make a better living for them and their families, and capitalize on that. So the people that owned the land before and weren't exactly sure what they were going to do with that, they can build, whether it's homes for sales or townhomes or apartments to rent, and that's the kind of thing that can really give a big start to the economy. Right. And the other point, Donna, I think Mr. Thompson mentioned earlier on that the debate on health care, there's a raging debate. When we hear about Obamacare and the whole issue surrounding that, the whole U.S. politics basically is surrounding it. It's because of the uncertainty and the height and continuing increasing cost of health care. Right. And ultimately, regardless of what happens in the economy, sadly, people are going to still get sick and still need doctors. And
even so, more so because of the stress levels.
and so when we're looking at those industries that are going to be consistent, right? We're going to have, healthcare is one of those. And so when we're able to provide healthcare as a country, when it's one of the things that we're offering, like you said, and we're doing it at different levels at this stage, and we need to continue to encourage that, continue to develop that, and continue to make Cayman the shining star, the best and the brightest, and continue from a tourism offering standpoint to still make Cayman an attractive place. So if you can be going to visit your family who's getting a procedure done in the Cayman Islands, and it also gives you a chance to get to the beautiful Cayman Islands, experience the beautiful 7 Mile Beach, and enjoy the safety and security of our beautiful island. That's pretty much a win-win situation. That's the best it can be.
Right. Well, what I've heard so far about Health City Cayman Islands over the last couple of years certainly has me impressed, as not only as a Caymanian but as a mother, as a daughter. as a granddaughter, the possibilities that exist or that will exist for my mom and my grandmother and other people in my family who may need emergency health care or need proper health care in as far as medical tourism is concerned and cardiology in this respect as well as orthopedics. But the magnitude of this project is really so great, and I'm not quite sure that whether our listeners and people out there who know about the project really can grasp or are able to grasp the extent of this project and what it's going to mean. I mean, the opportunities are going to be there for Caymanians, particularly those in the eastern districts, to really capitalize and have business opportunities. I mean, if I were them, I'd be thinking right now, what can I do that's going to make it easier for people not to have to travel into town, for people to get up and down? I mean, it's just endless, the opportunities. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what we see as some of the attraction benefits to people who want to come here for medical tourism. What are going to be some of the things? I mean, some of them are just, outright our beautiful beaches and so forth. Who cares to speak to that?
Well, hold on, I'll jump in first. I'm sure that we all have our own opinions as to what exactly, but I think as Mr. Thompson said, while we're not able to when we look at healthcare, we look at the fact that people are hopefully going to be living longer, and what that means is that as we live longer, our needs increase, right? And so for those that are blessed to live into their twilight years, they're going to end up needing, when you talk about assisted living, you're going to need more care. And so when you're looking, whether it's looking at retirement in a place that is warm and welcoming, healthcare and the availability of healthcare is going to be a significant consideration for you to take into account.
Right.
I think the other very important aspect of this, when people heard about, and those that weren't fortunate enough to be able to obviously go across and see the facilities, see the level of healthcare, there was a concern that American citizens, for example, would not want to be coming to the Cayman Islands to be getting health care associated with India, right? Because, again, we talked about third world. Well, we haven't mentioned or talked significantly, but while it's Dr. Shetty is behind it, his partner is Ascension Health, which is one of the largest healthcare providers in the world, I guess, but definitely in North America. And so what we're going to get is we're going to have that ability for referrals as well, all right? Okay. So when you're able to tap into one of the largest medical networks in the United States or in the world, all right, you're able to then refer your guests to the facility in the Cayman Islands.
Okay.
So when we look at the cost and we look at Ascension being able to now provide those services in the Cayman Islands cheaper than they could provide it in the United States, it makes it pretty attractive.
Right.
So if they're given the option to say stay in Boston and have a procedure and spend your 2 weeks recovering in Boston, or spend your 2 weeks coming down to have the surgery in Cayman and having it done there, knowing that you'll get the same high level of care at a reduced price,
you're going to want to come.
And in the Cayman Islands, and that's obviously one of the attractions of the model that is actually able to make the people that are actually investing the money. I mean, we understand a level of skepticism, and so it's important to recognize that government isn't spending the money, right? This is a private sector entity or entities that have come together. They've seen the model, they've looked at the numbers, and they've said, listen, we're willing to put our money where our mouth is. We've been in this business a long time, and we see this as a financially workable model, right? I think it's a recognized fact that government isn't necessarily the best business people, right? So the businesses that government tend to run doesn't necessarily have to be run to make a profit,
right?
And in most cases they don't. Not only in Cayman,
right,
but successful business people that like the Dr. Shetty, like the Ascension Health, who have a track record of being very successful in this. I think the population should gain some comfort in saying these are people that know what they're doing. This is what they've been doing at a very large scale for a very long time. And so the fact that they see this as workable, that they see this as attractive to their clientele, should say that if anyone will know that is attractive, it should be them.
Okay. Mr. Thompson, you care to add to what Mr. Glidden is saying?
Mr. Glidden hit on a very important point, and I think a lot of the world and the way that we plan, we kind of bury our heads in the sand on this. But it's interesting to know that the average age, if you take out obesity in the U.S. right now, is pushing close to 87, 88 years of age. I think the average age right now, based on the census, is 82.6 years. When Medicare and Medicaid were founded back in the day, and I think 57 to 63 or something thereabout, the average age then was about 68. Okay. So people are living much longer, and as medicine gets better, people are going to continue to live even longer. And it is believed by our group that, within the next 10 to 15 to 20 years, that the average, it will be common for people to have a relatively full life up until the age of 100. It'll be more common, much more common than it is now. Okay. And that is primarily because you take care of your health. You do the best you can, and you are aided by extremely good health care going forward. There are a lot of new procedures, new things every day, and with the advent of what we are doing, it dramatically reduces costs, and it allows people to be able to take care of these procedures and have these things done, which gives them a longer life cycle. Right.
Mr. Scott, tourism partners, DOT partners, what's their involvement going to be like, and what are going to be some of the benefits to your department's partners that are out there, such as airlines, hotels, condos? Any feedback from any of those entities at this point?
Well, the demand, right? So at the end of the day, our partners don't care if somebody's coming here for business, whether they're coming here for leisure, right, whether they're coming to get married, whether they're coming for a family vacation. Of course, they care because certain segments spend more money than others, right? But at the end of the day, it's about increasing the economic impacts. It's about getting more persons on the ground, butts in seats, heads in beds. And this is a new arena that will allow us to actually continuously increase our visitation and the economic benefits that go along with it. It helps hotel occupancies. It helps all of the ancillary types of activities, whether it's boat trips to Stingray City, horseback riding. There are many different areas that just having a bump in your demand that you'll see the benefits throughout. So everybody's excited. A lot of persons or a sizable amount of the populace at this point in time don't realize how close it is, and are just saying, oh, okay, I'm hearing about it, and I guess that'll be here in 5 or 10 years. They don't realize that it's right around the corner, and that's why we're meeting with Mr. Thompson very shortly in order to make sure that from our perspective, from a tourism perspective, that we understand where we're going to play, how we're going to help, as well as to get the word out to make sure everybody is aware when we'll start to see the waves of visitors that will be coming, albeit through medical tourism. And the good thing, another benefit that I did mention previously is tourism. We have a lot of peaks and gullies, right? Right. And we're always trying, whether it's through sports tourism, events tourism, to place things in certain times during the year to lift those lulls to try and straight line tourism. Because medical tourism and the way it's constituted, it's going to be visitation, going to bring visitation across every month. So that's also going to help in those areas that you have lulls to try and straight line tourism so that it isn't so seasonal in its effect on people's incomes as well in the tourism industry. So it's going to help in many different arenas. And while I have the mic, always trying to make sure that we show how everything is interconnected. Last time I was here, I was speaking about South America and the fact that the Panama flight, for instance, wasn't just based solely on tourism, that it also is looking to the medium to long-term benefits that will be from financial services standpoint. Commerce in the Chamber of Commerce has been asking for that flight for a long time. Right. Of course, it's seasonal. It's the winter season in Buenos Aires as well as Sao Paulo to bring persons when they're most prone to travel to Cayman, and it was made short short-term first, seasonal due to cost, but as well as that's when persons more overtly travel, so that's a perfect time to put it on.
Right.
But also not only from an outward medical perspective that we were speaking about, that some procedures are less expensive in Panama, and it would also help from a local government cost perspective. But moving forward, we had said in the medium term, it also would help from an inward medical tourism perspective.
Okay.
So that Cayman Airways flight is so important when we're looking to persons to in Latin America, whether it's Buenos Aires, Sao Paulo, or in many different areas that will now travel to Cayman to have these procedures, which also are going to cost less in Cayman than it would cost in those areas.
Okay.
And understanding that you look at Brazil and the demographics they have, persons who are in the higher end demographic, there will be a sizable amount of those persons, I'm sure, who are going to say, hey, it makes sense for me to travel to Cayman to have this procedure. They, of course, have high household income and they spend a lot. Each individual from Brazil, on average, spends $5,000 on vacation when they're going into the U.S., and we're telling them, yes, come here and spend that. But if the actual statistics bear true and they actually spend more, that's even much more of a substantial increase of their spend that they're going to be spending in the Cayman Islands as well. So it's just exciting. It's just now, the good part is we just need to prepare ourselves for when we start to see this bump in demand versus the old problem or current problem trying to generate the demand.
Right.
Now we just need to work with Mr. Thompson's group to understand where we can actually help and to understand when the demand is going to start, to make sure that we can make the community aware, to your point, so persons can start to plan.
Right.
Guess what? Maybe I should open a mom and pop restaurant right around the corner, whereas I was going to do it 5 years ago and I didn't see the demand. Now I know that there will be demand that will eventually get to the levels where that will be very profitable and other types of businesses can pop up as well, knowing that this facility is going to be built and there are going to be droves of visitors eventually in the medium term that will be traveling and coming through the eastern districts.
Right. I know Mr. Thompson wants to speak, but we're about 20 minutes into our second hour here. We're going to take a break here and Talk with the Nation. We'll be back with you in just a few minutes. Again, you can give us a call with your comments or questions here. The number to call is 946-9898. We'll be right back with Talk with the Nation here on Vibe 98.
With the Nation, with host Donna Bush on Vibe FM.
Welcome back to Talk with the Nation here on Vibe 98.9. It is now 7 minutes to the hour of 6. The show ends at 6:30, but we'd like to hear from you if you're out there listening on your radio. We are talking medical tourism. Again, our guest this evening in studio, our Director of Tourism, Mr. Shomari Scott, Health City Cayman Islands Project Director and local partner, Mr. Gene Thompson, as well as MLA and Counselor for Tourism, the Cayman Islands, Mr. Cline Glidden. Gentlemen, again, it's been a very interesting conversation. We've talked about many things around Health City Cayman Islands. Mr. Glidden, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what really drove the interest from government's perspective towards medical tourism.
So, Donna, it was obviously when the idea first came forward, it was the development partners. It was Dr. Shetty, it was Gene Thompson, it was Harry Chandy who came and said, listen, we can really make this work on a large scale. We had some interest on a smaller scale, and as we mentioned earlier, people like Dr. Kuna doing some work with stem cells, people like and the Vinci Center, people like Dr. Tomlinson doing some work, Mr. Philip E. Banks and Miss Rebecca E. Banks Rebecca Smith doing a level of medical tourism as well. But